Hello. Reverse culture shocks. Okay. We've got the regular culture shocks, but then the reverse culture shocks, the ones when you go back to your country, you're like, holy shit, we're kind of screwed up in some kind of way. I didn't realize it until now that I'm back here. You know, it's like eating grape candy all day, and then you go and eat a real grape, and you're like, wait, what the heck? These don't taste anything alike. That might have been a really bad example. I don't know. Anyway, Americans coming back from Europe, reverse culture shock. Let's do it. Caroline Cimino? Cimino? Yeah. Link down below. Check her out.
Through McDonald's. A lot. We'll drive through food.
Sorry. Let me turn this up.
We'll drive through food.
Yeah, drive through. Yeah, I know.
Like there's no drive through McDonald's.
A lot of
No drive-thrus.
Americans hug each
Hold on.
other.
Yeah.
Like in France, you don't like you do.
Well, you do the
Don't you kiss? Oh.
kiss. Yeah.
You like.
That's even more intimate. To me, that's way more intimate.
Hey guys, it's Caroline. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm with Kyla. Hi. So Kyla is from Nebraska. We're both Nebraska natives, but she lives in
Is that an American thing? I feel like that was an American. Hi.
Paris, and I live in Italy, and so we connected online, and this is our first time hanging out in person. We were both in Nebraska for the holidays, so we decided
cool.
to film some videos together. We already filmed a couple others, so you can check those out on Kyla's channel, which I'll link below.
Right.
And then I have another
Cool.
one
Go check out both their channels, guys.
we filmed, so I'll link
These
that
are,
below too.
I mean, these are 3 years old. Hopefully they're still going.
And this one, we're gonna be talking about reverse culture shock, since we're both in the US right now. Obviously, moving to Europe, we had culture shock there. So after 3 years in France, and then I've been in Italy for 7, coming back to the US, we obviously notice things that are different about the way people do life here, the way life is here.
Right.
So I thought it'd be fun to talk
That
about.
would be so much fun. I feel like that would be so much fun. Feeling like your country, where you come from, where you originate from, is like a foreign country. Having that feeling, that would be cool.
that.
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, okay, so this one's like super random, but this is what I first noticed when my parents picked me up from the airport. Because
Perfect.
they picked me up and we were going into the parking garage to put my suitcases in the car and go home. And the first thing that I immediately said is, oh my God, the cars are so huge. Because in the Midwest especially, I feel like everyone drives a truck or a big SUV, and it's just like way different than in the tiny streets of Paris where everyone drives a very small car. And like the parking spaces are bigger and the roads are bigger, like everything related to cars is just bigger. And I was like so surprised right away.
I feel like that would be a big one, because no matter how many times I might hear that and understand, okay, a lot of European, you know, Europe has smaller cars in general. I just would have to see it to believe it, you know? I'm like, well, I mean, I drive a pretty small car, Toyota Corolla. That's a small car. Most people, I mean, that's as small as you get, really, here in America for the most part. Most people, I mean, I'm watching out my window, a big ass SUV just drove by. So, yeah.
When I got back.
It would just be interesting to not see, you know, these 3-row SUVs and big pickup trucks that have, you know, pickup trucks are so big here that they have back seats. You have the front cab, then you have back seats, then you have a full-size bed.
Back to the US because of that reason.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay, so one of the first things I noticed when I got back this time actually is I was in New York visiting my brother, and we went out for dinner, and his friend ordered a cocktail with his dinner. In Italy,
How is that weird?
we order wine or beer or water or whatever. Anything besides a cocktail is okay with dinner. Like cocktails are for before or after dinner.
You know, that does, I could see how that makes sense now that she says it. Because a cocktail's kind of should almost be like its own experience. It's its own special thing. It's got a garnish, you know, to just have it as like your beverage that you're drinking with your dinner. Okay, I could see that. That's not how it is here in America, but I could see that.
But having a cocktail with your meal, it's just something you'll never see in Italy. And then on top of that, if you have a drink, you usually pair it with whatever you're eating. So if you're having red wine, you would be eating meat, and if you're having white wine, you'd be having
my
seafood.
gosh.
They're very specific with
Wow.
like the particular foods that are paired with certain
Right.
alcohol. If you have a
I've
burger,
never even heard of that.
you'd have a beer with it. So yeah, they're very specific in their food and drink pairings.
Beer does go good with a burger.
And so I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, why is he having a cocktail with his pasta? Like, that's just so
Right.
not what we do in Italy. And I never thought about it until I came back here.
That's hilarious. There is absolutely no thought put into, oh, I'm going to eat this, so I should drink this. That's not a thought.
Yeah.
Period. Pretty much at all. Pretty much at freaking all. I mean, the only thing I can think of that even comes close to that is people will say, I like beer and pizza. Random, but you know, beer and pizza. That's it. That's about it.
It's the same in France too. Like they're very specific on their pairings as well.
Uh-huh.
Okay, for me,
I feel like it's kind of just like a more sophisticated food etiquette.
my second weird culture shock that I had coming back, or reverse culture shock I had coming back, was just like how big the grocery stores were. Like maybe it's because I live in Paris, especially. Like
I feel like
No
I'm
worries.
so scooched away. Okay.
Maybe it's because I live in like Paris especially, but like the grocery stores are much smaller. There's like no room in the aisles. They're like very small, and so it was just so weird to come back here and have like Costco and huge grocery stores that you just like wouldn't see
Right.
like as the norm in France. And then also like the groceries themselves.
You know, there's an aspect to this that I've never heard anyone say, but I could imagine that in France, the grocery store is probably not also, you know, an appliance store. Like here in America, most grocery stores, Costco, Walmart, they sell everything. Half the store is groceries. You go over to the other half and you can buy shoes, clothes, a freaking dishwasher. You can get your oil changed. You can buy a car battery, you know, you can buy fishing stuff and buy toys, a bicycle. Like, is it like that? I've never heard anyone clarify that.
Are very big. Like you buy like
But it's not even just that. It's also that the aisles are bigger. It's that there's more product on the shelves, like in any given sector or whatever you'd call it, category of food.
like a liter or gallon or whatever of like
Sorry, what was she saying?
you buy like also like the groceries themselves are very big. Like you buy like a liter or gallon or whatever of like milk, whereas like in France you would really buy like one half the size or a third of the size. Like you buy way bigger quantities in the US than you would in France. And part of that is probably because we have to carry our groceries home, but at the same time like I think it's just America has a very like Costco culture, like which is like you buy everything in bulk. Like
I think it's part of the car culture
you store up on everything, you buy everything in bulk, and then you do.
and suburban culture. Because if you live in the suburbs, you got to go stock up. You know, I mean, it's not like the grocery store is far away. I live in the suburbs. It's not like it's far away. It's 10 minutes away. 10-minute car drive away. If you were walking, I don't know. I guess I would see you there next week. It's a 10-minute car drive away, 10 miles. So you stock up. You're not going down there every single day.
Do your grocery shopping like once a week or once every 2 weeks even, whereas in France and Italy like the culture is way more like you need to buy your food fresh like once every few days. Like especially at the boulangerie, like where you buy your baguette, like you would never buy that a week ahead of when you would eat it. You buy it daily and like things like that.
I mean, you guys value more fresh food and like you have more fresh food for like in large part, right? So you almost have to buy it. It's not fresh if it's a week old.
And so
Same in Italy.
It's very different here.
Right.
For sure.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next culture shock coming back to America from Italy was how early we have dinner here. Because in Italy we eat around 8 or 8:30 at night, but in
Same in
America,
France, yeah.
between like 5 and 6:30ish, we'll have dinner in America.
Wow. 8:30. here's something I don't get. I mean, I have kids now. The kids should be, in America, typically, young kids, toddlers, babies, they are getting ready for bed at 8:30, if not in bed, asleep. So how are you out at dinner? How does that work with kids? Or is it just not do the kids stay home? That doesn't make sense. The kids have to go. Maybe this is for people without kids. I don't freaking know. I don't get it. Do you not wake up as early in the morning? I just don't get it. That's interesting.
Like as early as 5, which is just unheard of in Italy. Like if
Even as early as 4:30. In the Midwest in America, it is possible. 4:30,
That's
which is crazy to me.
snack or lunch even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was just took some time to adjust to that.
Because people will eat lunch at 11 here in America and in the Midwest. I don't know what it is about the Midwest, but they eat even earlier
dinner time, and then on top of that, you go to bed earlier usually in the U.S. I mean, unless it's a weekend and you're going out. But like in Italy, I'll go to bed around midnight or later because we're out usually until midnight at least if we have dinner at 8:30.
I mean, when you're like, these girls are young, so I guess it's like, okay, yeah, when I was young, didn't have a family, hell yeah, I mean, I'm staying up till 1 a.m. every night. But yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to hear from someone who had kids.
30,
Right.
And then instead here, my bedtime's like, sometimes I'm in bed at like 9.
Yeah.
If I have dinner at 5, it's like, what else is there to do?
Same.
So,
Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, one of the biggest
I try to, I mean, I would like to be in bed at 9:30. With kids, that's, depends.
reverse culture shocks that I had coming back was just the convenience of everything in the US. Like I was kind of goes with my last point of how big the groceries were, like how much you can stock up on at once. But really the biggest difference is like just the convenience of like driving from one point to another, like one place to another. Because in Paris, like I take the metro and I walk everywhere and like yeah, I really enjoy doing that, but like here in Nebraska especially, like I drive in my car from like the house to the grocery store, back to the house without having to carry my groceries very far at one time, or like I don't have to switch metros or anything. I just like drive from one place to another, and I feel like that's just like so convenient compared to like what I have in France. And I love walking and everything.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big trade-off because it's obviously more convenient. It's easier, the one in America, but I could definitely see how, I don't know, it's a little bit more dystopian, I'm not gonna lie. Like you're missing out on that living of life that you get from interacting outside, walking outside, going to the metro, being mad that the metro's late. I don't know if that happens with a metro, but that just kind of, adds some more spice to your life than just being alone in your car, driving to the store, driving straight back. Like, I could see on any given day I would want to do, I'd say, okay, today I want to walk, today I want to drive. If only you could do it both ways, but yeah.
I think it's just very different vibe for sure.
So my next reverse culture shock,
it's kind of amazing that Americans are as social as they are, right? Considering we just sit in our cars alone half the day.
Had when I came here was how friendly everyone is, which is something we talked about in Carla's video. But everyone is so friendly in the Midwest, especially, but in America in general, they're a lot more open and they'll say hi to you. Your cashier will talk to you when you're checking out at the grocery store. They'll have conversation with you. If you're
the Midwest is known for this, especially.
In a park, walking around and see somebody, you say hi. Whereas in Italy, it's really strange to say hi to someone you don't know. And I actually prefer the American way of being, friendly to everybody, whether you know them or not. But I felt sort of shocked the first time I was like in a park walking around and someone said hi to me and I didn't know them. I was just like, oh, hi. I forgot people do that here. So it's cool. I love it. And I love that that's part of our culture. But yeah, it was kind of a shock to me when I came back.
No.
Yeah. I definitely value that about Midwestern culture. That's, there's a lot of things to revere about Europe. But this aspect, I do really like.
I wrote down the exact same thing. Like,
And I could see how it would be totally weird if you weren't used to it. That, like, just strangers are saying hi to each other. But when you are used to it, it would be kind of disappointing for them not to.
like small talk, which again we talked about in my video, but like small talk for me is such a foreign concept coming back to the US, because in France, like, no one small talks at all. Like, you don't talk about the weather with a stranger, you don't talk about like how your day was with a random worker somewhere, like you just don't. So like small talk was a huge culture shock for me coming back, reverse culture shock for me coming back, because like I actually didn't know how to communicate. Like I felt like I was being so awkward when I was like going through the Trader Joe's checkout line or whatever. Like I actually felt like I was being so awkward, because my cashier would be like, oh, how's your day, like did you find everything you needed? And I felt like I was giving like really short answers compared to like a typical Midwesterner who would like go on and on. And so I felt like I was being kind of rude, and like I just it was very much reverse culture shock.
That's hilarious. Which in a certain kind of way might actually make you not like it, I mean, absolutely might make you not like it just because you're not used to it. So you're like, oh, this is making me feel awkward. Like, I just don't like being put in this position of feeling this way, feeling like insecure almost about how I'm responding. It's kind of funny.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so my next one is coffee shop culture. So
we don't have that in France either.
Yeah. So like in Italy, if you have a coffee, you can stand at the bar at the counter and drink your coffee there, and you don't pay extra. But if you want to sit down at the bar in Italy or the coffee shop, you have to pay an extra fee.
Why is this the first time I'm hearing of that?
And in America instead, the price is the same no matter what if you sit down or stand up. But standing up and drinking your coffee isn't really a thing in America.
That is fascinating. I don't know what to make of that. I guess I would be happy if I'm not trying to sit down, because then in theory you're saving money, because you're not having to subsidize the people who are using the restaurant. But I don't want to have to think about that, to be honest. I don't want to have to think like, oh, do I really want to sit down here? Like, I don't think it's worth the money. I'd rather just decide, oh, should I sit? Should I go? I don't know. Whichever you want to do. That is interesting.
America, I think.
I'm sure it's not a very expensive fee. And of course, you're also saving money on the tip, although I don't tip at coffee places. That's kind of one of those places where it's like an edge case, I would say, as far as tipping here in America. Everybody knows the tipping culture is out of line here in America. At a coffee shop, I don't know, some people tip and I don't. Maybe that's bad. I don't know. Sorry. I also don't get coffee that much, so.
That's more Italian for sure, more European.
Yeah.
And so like having your little espresso shot in Italy and just taking it and going. So yeah, it's just different.
Right. Well, and I just feel like in the United States there's like a coffee shop culture of grabbing a coffee and then like studying or doing work at a coffee shop.
Right.
Whereas like in Paris,
I feel like Starbucks invented this here in America.
that does exist, yes, but it's not like normal really, whereas in the US it's like totally normal to like meet a friend for coffee or like study while doing or while drinking coffee.
They'll even have a Starbucks in the bookstore, like Barnes & Noble, famous bookstore chain here in America. They have a Starbucks in it, so you can buy a book, go sit in the coffee shop and drink a coffee, read your book with a friend or whatever.
Or like even getting to-go coffee. Like, to-go coffee is not a thing in Italy.
Yeah, here there's like literally drive-throughs where you can get coffee.
Yeah.
And like the Starbucks drive-through or the whatever, there's coffee drive-through.
Oh my God, there's so many.
And that is not a thing.
There's so many. I mean, there's more than McDonald's. Like, you have to understand, there's so many coffee drive-throughs. In fact, a lot of them are only drive-through.
At all in France, obviously.
Well, drive-through food.
Yeah, drive-through. Yeah, I know.
Like, there's no drive-through McDonald's or anything.
Yeah, so that's a lot different for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and
Which just goes to the car culture thing. That's kind of hard to comprehend, to be honest. Are there really not that many drive-throughs? I'm sure obviously there's not in the middle of the city, but if you get out toward the outskirts of a city, are there not drive-throughs?
My final reverse culture shock was the fact that they put ice in drinks again. Like, I always miss that when I'm in France because I love like an unsweetened iced tea, which you just cannot find in France anywhere. And I love like just having ice in my water. Coming back and like having ice in my drinks was like such a pleasant surprise.
It is a funny thing. You know, if you're European, you probably just wouldn't even understand why. And I can understand that because, interestingly enough, because I'm a weirdo, I used to not put ice in my drinks at all. And I'm like the only American that did that growing up. I just thought it's a waste of space in the cup. I'm going to fill that cup up with soda. I don't want any ice taking up space. Okay, so I have plenty of experience with no ice. But now I use ice every time, and it just, I mean, basically it just makes every sip. It's also partly because your cup is so big. You know, you want every sip all the way down to be ice cold.
So that was like a pleasant reverse culture shock.
Yeah,
I would say.
yeah, that's true. Like in Italy, it's the same. You have to ask for ice if you want, and a lot of times they won't even have it when you ask for it. So
yeah, and like iced coffee in France is really hard to find.
Well, and it's not a thing.
It's not. No, it's like they look at you weird if you get an iced coffee, and especially if like you want an iced coffee in winter, which like many Americans do.
Yeah.
Like they just don't. They stop serving.
I personally get iced coffee when it's hot and hot coffee when it's cold, which I think is pretty normal, you know, at least here in America. I get nice coffee every day. Okay, I just said I don't get coffee much. I get a McDonald's iced coffee like all the time, which are only $1. And of course you don't tip at McDonald's. So that doesn't count as like a going to a coffee shop, you know?
Serving iced lattes like in September in Paris. Yeah, so very different in that regard as well.
Okay, my last culture shock coming back to America from Italy was personal space. So in Italy, when you talk to someone, you stand really close together and you're touching each other. Overall, they're just a lot closer in distance when they have conversation with you.
Okay, to be honest, especially if it was like a girl and a man, if it's an American man, he'd totally think you're flirting with him. Absolutely. Like, that is exactly what girls do here in America if they're flirting with you. Apart from that, no.
Whether you know the person or not, they get very close to you, whereas in America we have like
lots
a few
of
feet
distance.
at least.
Yeah.
If it's a stranger, even more. And
yeah,
I wouldn't say there's one I prefer over the other, but it just feels different.
Especially in the Midwest where we have like ample space.
That's so interesting to me because it seems contradictory in a way you just wouldn't expect, to where Americans are going around saying hi to everybody they don't know, but they don't get close to each other. Europeans don't say hi to each other, but when they do, they get all close to each other and touch each other. What?
I really feel like personal space is like a very high priority for a lot of people. Whereas in France, like in Paris especially, we don't have that luxury because of the metro and everything. Like we have to be like close together. And like the streets are often crowded, so like personal space just like isn't as much of a thing in general.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn about your personal bubble when you're in kindergarten. You know, stay out of each other's personal bubble. Basically that.
Yeah, one time I was in a culture class at my university in Florence, and the teacher was talking to us about personal space and how different it is for Americans versus Italians. And he was like, you know, there were a couple Italian students in the class and a couple Americans, and he said, okay, I want one American to come stand a distance to me that they feel comfortable, and then I'll have the Italian come and stand a distance they feel comfortable. And the Italian was like right next to the professor, whereas the American was like 3 or 4 feet from him.
Right.
And he was like, and you know,
that's an interesting thing.
See, this is like the difference between Italians and Americans. And that was kind of the first time I really thought about it, but it is so true.
Much different.
And I understand, you know, it's probably, you're not getting that close to someone that you're totally unfamiliar with or don't know at all. I don't know. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would get uncomfortable with how close Italians were to me when I first moved to Italy.
Right.
I was like, this is so weird. Why are they standing so close? And I'd keep backing up and they'd keep moving forward. And, but now I've just learned to embrace that part of life in Italy.
Right.
So is that our last point?
Yeah, I have one bonus one.
Okay.
Which is, I feel like a lot of...
This is really weird, but I feel like here in America, if you can feel the heat of someone's breath, or if you can even just feel their breath touching you, that means they're in your personal bubble.
A lot of Americans hug each other.
Yeah.
Like in France, you don't, like you do,
Well, you
the
do the
knees,
kiss, yeah.
You like kiss each other on the cheeks. So it's like hugging really isn't like part of the culture in France, whereas like here you hug friends, family, like anyone you're like remotely close to, you hug, or like remotely know you hug.
Yeah, so true.
And so that's, which is kind of funny because it's like not personal space, but at the same time, like hugging.
There are quite a few interesting contradictions like that. Like not direct contradictions, but just things you wouldn't assume about each other's cultures, given other aspects of the culture.
Hugging is very much part of the Midwest culture.
Right.
And that was kind of a shock to me, getting hugged by everybody. I do love that, actually, about I do love hugs. So I do think that's good about the American culture, but definitely was not typical French at all.
Yeah, but if you like tried to...
It's more of a girl thing, to be honest, though. Like, guys aren't hugging much. You still hug. You don't hug other guys so much. It's kind of that's definitely a difference. Like girlfriends hug each other all the time. So these two girls, you know, they have a little bit of a different perspective on that than I do. I'm not hugging people every day, but girls really are. Like, when they see each other, they hug.
The kiss, do the kiss
No,
with
people
an
would
American?
think that's
like they would
so
think that was like
weird.
so close, and but like hugging for some reason doesn't feel too close.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
I never thought about that. All right, well that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on reverse culture shock. Let us know if any of you have experienced reverse culture shock in the comments below. Make sure to check out Kyla's videos on her channel that we did. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more.
Dang, that was really good. Go check out their channels, both their channels linked down below. I really enjoyed those. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.